I was listening to a podcast yesterday, 99%, and the topic was on perfume and smell. So if you could, go grab something that has an odor, some scent or some smell, and then come right back. Welcome to Finding God in the Times of COVID. Today is October. It's the 26th. And in this podcast, they were talking about how if we had to give up one of our senses, most people, not everybody, would say, yeah, I'll go without my sense of smell, if you had to pick one. So they went on to discuss all these different realities of the sense of smell and how they fold into everything from perfumes to household cleaning products to personal items. And they made the comment that I think, as we know, that the sense of smell is so connected to memory. You might be able to, conjure up a smell in your mind that reminds you of, like, the home you grew up in, or someplace that you went outdoors when you were younger, or like a perfume that a friend of yours wore. I mean, it can be from decades ago. And you might be able to just conjure it up. But if you smell it, right, all of a sudden, this whole host of memories comes flooding back in. So in the podcast, they were discussing how, especially in the industry of making perfumes, there's this amazing science about smells, and some of the smells are easy to replicate, some are harder to replicate, some you can get, directly from essential oils, other ones you have to, combine all kinds of molecules in order to create the smell that you're after. But it got me to thinking, about different smells that we cross the path of in the course of a day. Might be a smell of something related to food. I, have a little bit of olive oil here. The smell of that oil, which smells slightly different even at different temperatures. The smell of a candle beeswax. The smell of, incense, to name a few. But there are all kinds of smells. Some are smells that, are more repulsive to us. Most of the smells, they said, at least in our culture, that we have the strongest association with, I think they said something like this. They're smells that are smells that try to keep us safe, right? So like the smell of, rotting food or rotten eggs. Just things that we want to avoid in our life. So I was just wondering, if we could pay more attention to smell over the course of our day today. There are, all these biblical references to smells, especially in the Hebrew Bible. So much of the practice of association with God was about burnt offerings and sacrifices. So it was loaded with smells as a religious practice. There are others like the Song of Solomon, which is such a bodily book, where it says, "Your lips drip nectar, my bride. Honey and milk are under your tongue. The fragrance of your garments is like the fragrance of Lebanon." All the associations with the smells of the place where we are. So I got to tell one story from the podcast. There was this woman who's a professor at the University of Washington, She works with bats. That's her, day job. But she also works with the creation of different aromas in perfumes and other sort of smell-based products. And they were saying that as a culture, the U.S. culture has for 20 or 30 years had this preference for fresh and clean. That's what, as a culture, we tend to be drawn to, whereas other cultures, they don't value like fresh and clean in the same way, at least in terms of aromas toward which people are drawn, in perfumes or other things. So there's been this current wave of moving toward other aromas. So this woman who studies bats, she made a fragrance. I've forgotten the name, but basically it's Wet Bat Cave. And so they were describing like all of the contours of the smell. That it smells like the moisture on the inside of a wet cave, and it smells like rotting bananas, and it smells like mango, I think was the other fruit. And then to assimilate the smell, or to generate the smell of a bat, they mix in some smell of leather. It's interesting, isn't it, what we're drawn to by smell? So I'll just invite you today to pay attention to smells. What do you smell? What's your association with the smells? What recollections do they bring up? And how might they remind you of your life with God during these times of COVID? For we're given the gift of all of these senses. What'll come in today? Blessings on your day.